apply Jeffersonian principles. I would go through, I've already filed legislation. Every federal grant program would be voluntary. There's $600 billion a year in federal grants that go out the door each year, Jeff, is that right?
I'm not sure.
What was the last number we saw about? 600 billion? Ellie ran that for me. You ran it for me a couple years ago when you were in Washington. Ellie, what was it?
That was about right.
About 600 billion in 2004? I think that was the last year you did it for me. It was 2004. We've got numbers from 06. Let's say it's $600 billion a year in federal grant programs that go out the door every year. The states are enrolled in those grant programs, and this guy can do this in 60 seconds. The states enroll in those grant programs, the state bureaucracies sign up for them. And when I came in as a state legislator in Austin, the TEA had signed me up for all these things that I didn't agree to. And all of a sudden Texas is on the hook to pay for these things that I got to come up with state matching dollars, and you have to opt out of a federal grant. Very difficult to do. So I would flip that around so that all federal grant programs, the legislatures have to voluntarily opt in by a record vote. On the record vote affirmatively, yes, I want the money with all the strings attached, and I surrender state sovereignty to the federal government, will now control public education to the extent that federal law, state law is inconsistent with federal law controls. The legislatures won't do it. They'll be very reluctant to do it on the record. It'll save hundreds of billions of dollars, and it'll restore Jeffersonian Republican principles in the Constitution, because it will then, the only things the states will agree to will be the four corners of the contract. The law that I pass in Texas I only agree to the following requirements under the federal law. I agree to 1, 7, and 10. The others I don't agree to. That works.
But would the fair tax revenue make up the revenue lost to the income tax?
Yes. Yeah, every estimate I've seen. Now the question becomes in what's the rate, and I've never seen a good number on what the rate would be. And there's because it depends on what's included and what's not. I don't know that we'll ever get there because it's so deeply embedded. The income tax.
And I would also say, there's a caveat to that, I mean, the problem is they're spending too much money now, so they don't need all the revenue that we're generating right now.
That's true. That's absolutely right.
The budget, you need to reduce the level of revenue the government takes in.
And by making the federal grant programs opt in instead of opt out, there's other things you can do to literally shift responsibility back to the state and local government. The time most of these programs were created, the county government was very small or non-existent. The state governments were very small and not very, for example, we've got very sophisticated water quality. The Texas, what do they call it now? It used to be train wreck. Tim, what's it called now? It used to be Texas Natural Resources and Conservation Commission. Texas Commission on Environmental Quality or something. Very sophisticated agency. Why don't we let them do it? Why don't we let Texas control the environment in Texas? I mean, why do we have the EPA come in and tell Texas what our standards are going to be? We're going to do a perfectly good job. Nobody's going to care more about clean water or air than the Estonians who breathe it and drink it. I mean, there's so many things that you could shift responsibility back to the state and local level. And the Katy Freeway, again, is a great example of the local government doing a great job on a project the federal government would have taken, under traditional means, that freeway would have taken 12 to 15 years.
But who paid for it?
Tolls. Harris County, we did. The users are paying for it with the toll dollars. And that's the first of its kind in the nation. I had to personally, just carry that application through the highway department and just, ram it through. They told us no initially. They actually got a rejection. And I mean, you guys have followed me for years. I generally don't turn loose. I sort of believe in the Gila monster approach. When you really get a good idea, you hang on to it, don't turn loose. And I did that with the Katy Freeway, with school finance, constitutional amendment to get it out of the courts, which I still haven't given up on. I still work on that with my friends in Austin.
What's happening with federal funding for the university line, pro or con? Any developments?
That's so far down the road. It's not.
They claim they're going to build it in 2011 and 12.
Well, they haven't even submitted. They don't have a agreement with a contractor. They don't have. They're not even pre-positioned to go to the Federal Transit Administration to even begin preliminary engineering. What they have submitted is for the northeast and southeast lines, and as I promised, the voters approved those. Those are in Sheila Jackson Lee and Gene Green's district, and therefore I've supported every one of those spending requests that the voters approved on the ballot. I have supported those and submitted all those requests, but the university line is way down And I have not seen the Chronicle cover yet. Katy Freeway was 17% over budget, and Metro, I noticed on the southeast, northeast, and southeast line, Channel 11's been reporting this, that the Metro's reporting numbers of, Metro's telling the public one thing, and then the actual estimate that Metro's telling the FTA is 200% higher for the northeast and southeast.
Higher than budgeted or higher than they're telling?
Metro's telling the public that the northeast and north line is going to cost, the Metro says to the public, $387 million for the north line and then 441 for the southeast line, but then Metro's actually been telling the FTA privately and in written correspondence, the official communications with the FTA, Metro tells the Federal Transit Administration that the North Corridor line is going to cost at least $897 million, and the Southeast line is going to cost $911 million. That's a 231% increase over what they're saying publicly in the North Corridor, and a 206% increase for the Southeast Corridor, and they haven't turned a spade of dirt, and I haven't seen the Chronicle cover that yet.
I'll have to mention that to our news folks.
Channel 11's been all over it. That's a big deal. And I've been supportive of these lines. These were approved by the voters, and I'm going to help Gene and Sheila work their way through it. But, I mean, that's a serious problem when you've got record debt, record deficit, the tax dollars are so precious, and we can't afford to waste tax dollars. We've got to be very careful about what we're doing. And the Katy Freeway was only 17% over, and I got it done in 5 years, and again, without a single federal earmark. And I'm very careful with the money there, because my starting answer is no on all spending requests. Yes is hard to earn. I always introduce them to my daughter. You know, here's how much she owes. And to get to yes is very hard. It's got to be really essential. Prefer medical or scientific research work. I'll never earmark for an individual or a company. It's just not appropriate. It has to be for a public entity or a local unit of government. Harris County Flood Control District does superb work, and I have to tell the Army Corps of Engineers to put money aside for Brays Bayou, which, by the way, didn't flood during Ike. No neighborhood along Brays Bayou got water in their homes when Hurricane. And that was because of how much did I tell the Army Corps to spend? $54 million over the years. And the medical center did not flood because of work that I've done with the medical center to make sure they didn't flood. And that's an essential. The earmarks have gotten a bad name because people have abused them, and I do it in a way that's transparent. The way, in fact, I handle earmarks is now the standard, the way Congress does it for everybody. I posted every spending request that I submitted to the committee, I posted on my website beginning in 2003. Nobody else did that. And then I also published the final request that I received, the designated spending that I received, I published on the website, and that's now required. And I've been doing that from day one. So, you know, I'm trying to follow the transparency. And it's been working, and then, yes, again, it's very hard to earn. I think y'all did the numbers on this. I received this year $1.4 billion in requests for funding, and I said no to $1.15 billion, requested $262 million. Those are all on my website, and you'll see that it's aimed at medical and scientific research, developing a vaccine for cancer, which MD Anderson's on the brink of. For example, you're going to go get your shots for measles, and you'll get a shot for brain tumors. Actually, leukemia and brain tumors will be the first two cancers they'll have vaccines for. For the quantum wire, for the Alliance for Nano Health, for some flood control work, Port of Houston, for Metro, the north and southeast lines, for bus service. Other than that, pretty much it. Those are the only things that I'm very careful about what I ask for. Along with border security, that's the big one. Big one I'm working on, really spending a lot of time on, is border security. And by the way, I'm following up. You did a very good investigative series of reports on ICE's, the Immigration Customs Enforcement. You did a good job. Whoever, I forget the reporter's name that did that, but they did a good job exposing.
Susan Carroll did that.
She did
about the people who are not being caught or followed up on yet.
Yeah, this is at the top of my list. I want y'all to know that I'm pursuing it aggressively. I'm on that subcommittee. I'm on Homeland Security, Commerce, Justice, Science, and Financial Services. I'm aggressively pursuing Susan's. She was right on target. ICE is not deporting criminal aliens. A police officer was killed. It's just unacceptable. It's just unbearable. And we gave them, in my subcommittee, $1 billion was designated, set aside for